We all have two filters in life. The first is the one we use before we speak. The second is the one we use after we hear. Not every word deserves our attention. Not every sentence deserves a place in our hearts. Focus on what is true. Focus on what is kind. Focus on what helps you grow. Let the rest pass. What we choose to amplify becomes part of our experience. Attention feeds things, and sometimes ignoring them lets them fade. It points toward one of humanity's enduring lessons, recognizing where our agency begins and where it ends. We rarely control what enters our lives, but we do have influence over how we interpret it, what we dwell on, and what we choose to do next. One way of seeing life asks, "What did they do to me?" Another way asks, "Given what happened, who do I choose to become?" Life brings unfairness, disappointment, loss, and moments when others don't treat us with kindness. The lesson is not to pretend these things don't happen. Rather, it is to refuse to let them permanently define who we are or determine what comes next. The mind can begin collecting evidence. People never. This ruined everything. Attention becomes a magnet for confirmation. Energy flows toward the injury, but awareness shifts attention. I cannot rewrite yesterday, but I can choose today's response. The external event may remain exactly the same. The relationship to it changes. One of the oldest human discoveries may be this: attention is creative. What we repeatedly attend to becomes stronger within us. Where attention goes, the mind follows. Attention doesn't merely observe reality. It participates in shaping our experience of it. Every experience offers us two paths. One path asks, "What happened to me?" The other asks, "What can I do with what happened?" The first keeps our attention on the past. The second gently turns it toward the future. This is where our freedom begins, not in choosing every circumstance, but in choosing our next response. We cannot always choose what enters our lives, but we can choose what we continue to carry. Not every opinion deserves a permanent place in our minds. Not every criticism deserves to become part of our identity. Not every difficult moment deserves the final word. Our attention is one of the most valuable things we possess. Where we place it, our inner world slowly begins to grow. When we repeatedly return to gratitude, gratitude becomes easier to find. When we repeatedly return to hope, hope becomes easier to recognize. When we repeatedly return to kindness, kindness becomes easier to offer. This doesn't erase life's difficulties. It changes the way we walk through them. Perhaps that is one of humanity's quiet lessons. Our greatest freedom is not found in controlling everything that happens. It is found in learning to guide our attention, our thoughts, our words, and our actions toward the kind of person we are becoming. Little by little, choice by choice, that becomes our character, and character quietly becomes our life. One of the oldest human discoveries may be this: attention is creative. What we repeatedly attend to becomes neurologically stronger. Modern neuroscience calls this experience-dependent neuroplasticity. Repeated patterns of attention strengthen corresponding neural pathways. Ancient contemplative traditions expressed a similar principle in different language. Where attention goes, the mind follows. Attention doesn't merely observe reality, it participates in shaping our experience of it. This is why the idea of the filter is so powerful. Every day, thousands of signals reach us: words, news, opinions, criticism, praise, fear, beauty. None of them enter our inner world unchanged. There is always a filter. The question is not whether we have one. The question is, who built it? Was it shaped by fear? Was it shaped during childhood? Was it shaped by the voices around us? Or are we gradually rebuilding it ourselves? Perhaps maturity is the gradual realization that we become the curator of our own consciousness. Like tending a garden, we don't control every seed the wind carries in, but we do choose which plants receive water, which weeds are pulled, which flowers are cultivated. The garden eventually reflects those choices. Many spiritual traditions point toward the same movement, from reaction to response, from compulsion to choice, from blame to responsibility, from unconsciousness to awareness, from dependence to freedom. Not because life becomes easier, but because our center of gravity moves inward. True sovereignty is quiet. It doesn't need to win every argument. It doesn't need everyone to agree. It doesn't need to control others. It simply says, my peace is no longer dependent on your behavior. That is not indifference. It is freedom. Perhaps one of humanity's greatest lessons is this: no one can completely choose what life brings, but each person gradually learns that they can choose what they nourish within themselves. And that choice, repeated over days, years, and decades, quietly becomes a life. The deepest form of empowerment may not be controlling the world around us. It may be becoming a wise steward of the world within us.